Here we go. Public Safety and Criminal Justice Committee meeting. Usually Leroy is chairing it, but today it looks like old Danny Boots is taking the helm. So let's just get into it. And Jessica McCormick is wearing her sunglasses again. Hey, buddy, you need to use your microphone.
We're going to start this evening out by introductions, starting down our lower left with Councilor Hart.
Microphone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Michael Paul Hart, representing District 20 on the east side of Indianapolis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Josh Bain, representing District 21 on the southwest side. Also, just want to let everyone know I do have to head out a little after 6 o'clock tonight. Unfortunately, I do have another obligation in the district.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening. Paul Arnay, District 22, west side of Perry Township.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Carlos Perkins, District
Do you want to know what he's a doctor of? Ministry.
6.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. I'm Brian Delaney, representing the north side of Indianapolis in District 2 and adjacent to Councilor Perkins' district.
No one cares.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jessica McCormick, District 16, West Side.
Oh, you slob. Take your sunglasses off.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, everyone. Keith Graves, District 9 on the east side of Indy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Frank Mascari on Southeast Side, District 19.
Thank you. My name is Dan Boots, District 3, Washington and Lawrence Townships. We're going to go through the agenda relatively quickly tonight. I will point out our proposal number 19, 2024, about the fire code, due to some conflicts, is being postponed to next month. Do I have a consensus on that?
Remember that fire code, I think what he's talking about is about, they brought it up at the end of last year. And when we started connecting the dots, Allie Brown was the one that introduced it, and she had gotten money from that union.
Thank you.
Weird, but it's
I also understand Mr. Webster was unable to make it tonight, so proposal number 19,
Webster.
17, 2024, also proposed to be pushed to next month. Do I have consent? Consent. Finally, we also understand Mr. Bill Morrow for proposal number 49 also was unable to attend tonight. Do we have consent to move that one? Consent. Thank you. That gives us proposal number 48, 2024, reappointing Craig Cordy to the Citizens Police Complaint Board. Is Mr. Cordy here this evening?
Cordy.
Mr. Cordy, please tell us a little bit about your experience with the board thus far and your desire to continue serving.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the council. My name is Craig Cordy. I am a Citizens Energy Group employee, construction manager by trade. I've served on the Warren Township Advisory Board for 3 consecutive terms. I've been a lifelong resident in Warren Township. I continue to serve the east side, and being on this board helps me stay connected with the pulse of the east side. I also coach high school varsity football at Warren Central High School, so I work with a lot of young men, trying to keep them on the right road, learning the rights from wrongs. My wife is a retired.
Probably because they don't have a father figure in their life.
Our city county councilor. She served, which is in Mike Hart's council district now. So we have been connected with the city. Both of us were lifelong public works employees as well. So what I've learned on the last 3 years was I am not sure how these fine people did their job without cameras.
Huh?
Body-worn cameras has changed the way things have been seen. It's amazing that the complaints that come through, when you read a complaint and you get it and you kind of formulate in your head what it is, and then all of a sudden you see the body-worn camera footage and it's like night and day.
Oh.
I'm really not sure how they did.
He's talking about it like, I don't know how officers were able to defend themselves from these complaints because you didn't have the body worn cameras, which is a great. He's right. I don't know how you did it. It was all hearsay.
Did it without those cameras. So I think the technology, as we keep improving the technology, I think we're going to get better policing all the way around. I would like to continue my service to this board for another term.
Any questions from our counselors? Councilor Graves.
Thank you for your continued service. We certainly appreciate you.
Thank you.
That's it.
Councilor Mascari.
I've never met you, but I heard you had an old Camaro in your garage. You ever finish it?
No.
Oh my
You don't
God.
either. I mean,
It's a 68 Camaro.
I know,
I
that's
got it
what I-
running.
No one cares.
I still need to do the body on it, so
well,
I'm
okay.
still working on
If
it.
you ever get tired of it, let me know.
Yeah, lovely.
Anybody else? Councilor Hart.
Lovely.
Yeah, I would just like to give my high regards for Mr. Cordy. I've known him for probably over a decade at this point. And I can tell you honestly that I wouldn't be in this position right now if it wasn't for him and his wife, and I have nothing but the highest regards for him and his family.
Wonderful, thank you. Mr. Cordy, I do have a question myself. With this onslaught of camera technology and really the kind of the instant confirmation or deconfirmation of a applicant's complaint, are we seeing that that's also reducing the number of complaints now that people realize you can't bluff the board when it's on camera, or are we still seeing the same number?
No, I believe once they get past the initial, I want to make a complaint, and then when they go through the interview process and they say, well, we're going to pull the body cam footage, that's when I hear a lot of them die off about, well, what do you mean you're going to pull body cam footage? So I think a lot of people think that A, they're not working, or B, they don't have them on, or what. But once they realize that they're on and working, our complaints have dropped drastically. And it's helped with that, as well as finally getting a full-time investigator in that office to actually do the investigations. Has made a big difference on the amount of volume that gets to the board. A lot of those get weeded out and sent to the right areas. A lot of the stuff that comes in our office tends not to actually be a complaint. It needs to go to a different department. So I think the cameras are a big plus.
She's already sweating.
And had the investigator, was that something, if I recall, Council, that we authorized and funded that just within the last year?
It's been a couple of years.
Couple
They added
years?
that to the ordinance, yes.
Great, okay. Anybody have any further questions? Any questions of the public of Mr. Cordy? Hearing none, well, we thank you, Mr. Cordy, and we'll see you at the next council meeting.
That is so funny. Oh, hey, guess what? Hey, if you want to back up of what you're claiming, we'll pull the footage. Hey, instant replay.
Thank you.
All right. Yes, Councilor McCormick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that we send proposal number 48 to the full council with a due pass recommendation.
Second.
Do we have consent? Consent. We don't have to poll that, do we, Council? Voice vote. Do I hear consent? No. Aye. Thank you. Proposal 5024 approves certain public proposal grants totaling $250,000 from the Drug-Free Community Fund. We have someone here to present.
Yes. I'm Deborah Hall. I'm the grants administrator with the Office of Finance and Management. Unfortunately, the director of Drug-Free Marion County, Michelangelo McClendon, could not be with us this evening, and he sends his deepest apologies. To start out with, I just want to give you a brief background of how Drug-Free Marion County funds are authorized. Drug-free community funds are authorized in Indiana Code 5-2-11, and the fund is funded by fees paid by convicted felons of drug offenses and alcohol offenses. So that's what funds the drug-free community funds.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that, please?
Yes.
What you just...
Okay.
It is. I just didn't catch all of what you
said.
You're totally zoning out.
Indiana Code 5-2-11 authorizes the drug-free community funds, and the fund is funded by fees from convicted people that are convicted by drug offenses and alcohol offenses. The county sends 25% of the funds collected.
How many of those people are convicted? So if that fund is funded by convicted, say like DUIs or drug charges that are actually convicted, and you have a prosecutor who refuses to convict people, one might think you are going to be getting less money into that fund.
It to the state, and the county auditor keeps the remaining 75% to be used for these drug-free Marion County grants. The Drug-Free Community Fund is administered by a local coordinating committee, which is overseen by Drug-Free Marion County. And I believe the name of that LCC is the Marion County Prevention Alliance, and it's comprised of community stakeholders that are interested in preventing drug use, misuse, and abuse. I'm going to run through Michelangelo's presentation now, and we'll go through how the funds were distributed for 2024, and they do run on a calendar year. Okay, so Drug-Free Marion County is comprised of concerned citizens dedicated to preventing and reducing the negative consequences from the use of alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs in Marion County. They are comprised of business professionals, law enforcement officials, parents, healthcare providers, educators, neighborhood leaders, and others who care about the health of our community. The Marion County Prevention Alliance serves as our local coordinating council. The Marion County Prevention Alliance aims to prevent drug use among Marion County residents using effective drug prevention strategies, education, and advocacy. The vision of the coalition is to make Marion County healthier and safer in 2023.
Yeah, we'll see if that happens.
We do an evaluation periodically, and some of the highlights from the 2023 analysis were outlined in that report. What they did was they took a mid-year survey and an end-year survey to get feedback from the grant recipients. It's qualitative data, and they use the methodology called the 4 L's, which identifies what recipients loved, what they longed for, what they loathed, and what they learned in a project or a body of work. So loved, most of the respondents unanimously reported that they loved the program being funded and the impact that they witnessed it having on the people it serves.
Like who?
By the end of the year, they also appreciated that the grant helped to stabilize their operations. They longed for and loathed for, well, they basically said that most reported that they had everything they need, but others wished for funding to provide participation incentives to program participants.
Because all of this is volunteer.
On the grant administration side, the respondents wished there was better transparency on the reimbursement process and expectations on timing for reimbursements. What they learned at mid-year was that they must invest more and request more funding for program development. There was also a need to have more pieces in place before launching their programs. And respondents also mentioned that they learned about the importance of building and maintaining strong relationships with community and program partners. The sentiments were reflected at the end of the year as well, and they also reflected on the need to create a better organizational structure and focus on maximizing the effectiveness of their programs. Closing thoughts, there is a quote in the report that basically stated that our organization, and this is from one of them, would like Drug-Free Marion County to know that their grant funds served as gap money to support areas in their programming, and that made it possible for their program to continue and help meet the needs of people in the community. One more thing to note is that only about half the recipients responded to the surveys that were issued, and by mid-year, 4 of the respondents reported they had served 373 individuals with their program funds.
I don't know. Why are they not all of them completing that survey? I mean, if you're getting public money, you should automatically have to fill out that survey.
So moving on, stop me if you guys have questions. I don't mind. So for 2024,
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
Yes. I think I know, I can read it, but I think the text is a little hard to read. Is there any way you could go back to the slide and zoom in for those that want to maybe see some of the text?
Sure.
For who? Nobody's there.
Well, maybe not. I need to get out of the presentation to do that. Does that help? We still need it larger.
Do they not have
How about
that
that?
paperwork with them?
Work? Try to center it a
It's
bit.
better.
Okay.
Wait, hold on. Mid-year, 4 respondents reportedly have had the number jumped to over 1,500 by the end of the year.
If the committee would like, I can print out copies of this and send it to you.
Why weren't they already
That
printed
would-
out?
How long is the report?
It's 2 pages.
Yeah, please do.
Sure.
Maybe get it to our staff and they'll circulate it.
Yeah, I will definitely
us.
get it to the clerk.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can we get it emailed instead of printing off the copies?
Well, yes.
That would be helpful.
Do you want the presentation as well?
We have the presentation.
Okay. All right. Yes, I will definitely email everything to the committee clerk. All right. Do you
Why
guys need to
wasn't-
get
I
anything
don't
else
know.
on
That's- what a
this
clusterfuck.
report Specifically, or are we okay to move on?
Continue.
We can continue.
Okay. Okay, so the funds, state statute requires that we split the funds 25% between 4 service areas. 25% has to go to prevention and education, 25% goes to treatment and intervention, 25% goes to justice services and activities, and then we can keep 25% for the administration of the funds, and that is what goes to drug-free Marion County.
Oh, lovely.
Do you have any questions about the breakdown of that?
Are those breakdowns in this presentation?
The presentation tells
I'm
the
not-
dollar amount for
Okay.
each section, which is 25% of the full 250,000.
Okay. But is it stated that you just read off 25% for prevention, 25% for treatment?
No, that is a separate document that I have to govern, when we manage these funds, but I can send that. in email.
Jeez, what is going on right now?
Yeah. And then each one.
It's part of
Gotcha.
the proposal. If you have the proposal in front of you, it's part of the proposal.
I like how all 3 of them are just like, what the hell is going on
Proposal
right now?
not part of the packet.
Okay.
Oh my God.
You can continue.
What a clusterfuck. Government. Am I right, boys?
Okay.
And girls?
So for treatment and intervention, 62,500 was split, and that was put toward that category. The awards went to Alliance for Life. They received an award of 17,500. Their project will engage 100 youth between the ages of 10 and 18 in weekly prevention and social emotional lessons and routine communication with assigned school liaisons. PACE received 45,000 to enhance and expand the delivery of their recovery support services. Moving on to, sorry,
Yeah.
behind in the slides. Anyone have any questions about what was awarded under
What do we got here?
prevention, the treatment and intervention section?
Recovery.
Okay, moving on. For education and prevention, 25% is awarded to grants under that category, 62,500. Experience, Strength, and Hope was awarded 22,500. Their project proposes to create a
Hustling forward.
collaborative-based mental health and substance abuse curriculum and app that targets adults 18 to 25 to address mitigating effects of PTSD, familial dysfunction, and how social constructs glorify and perpetuate substance misuse.
What? How social constructs glorify and perpetuate. Yeah, so what she's saying is, like, rap videos talking about doing drugs and selling drugs and prostitution is awesome and all this shit. Yeah, so you have to spend $22,000, $22,500 to try and combat that.
The John H. Bonner Center has received $40,000, and it's going towards funding their EDGE program and preventing youth from using drugs, tobacco, and other negative substances. Justice and Law Enforcement gets 25% as well. Awards totaled $62,500 for them. The Marion County Prosecutor received $33,537.81 to fund their felony diversion program to target level 5 and 6 felony offenders and assess risk levels that need to be addressed with people referred to that program. IMPD Downtown District, the Violent Crimes Task Force, received an award that will provide surveillance equipment to assist with prosecution of opioid dealers.
What does it matter? If you have evidence of someone selling drugs, is Brian Mears even going to prosecute him? Oh, this will help.
The Youth
Sure it
Mountain
will.
Bike Project.
What?
North District received $13,123.52, and it allows youth to interact with the police, allows them to build relationships through biking.
Oh, yeah.
Which includes a component that will assist kids with building substance misuse skills resistance.
Oh, you know what'll really help to deter the violent youth? Singing Kumbaya.
And finally, the administration
Oh,
category,
man.
which is awarded to Drug-Free Marion County, funds the local coordinating council coordinator salary in the amount of $62,500. And that concludes the Drug-Free Marion County's presentation. If you have questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions from our counselor? Yes, Counselor Delaney.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Debbie, thank you for coming this evening and filling in. We appreciate it. I just have where is this organization housed? I just kind of overall, I'm trying to understand this, one. And then two, I think you got to it at the last slide that the executive director is funded through a quarter of the funds. And then three, does the funding change from year to year? It seems like it might if these are coming from court case fees, as I understand it.
It does. And I will say in recent years, the funding level has gone down. Years ago, we were awarding $380,000 and it's decreased to $250,000.
Oh,
so
gee.
we get our fund balances from the auditor's office, basically. They let us know how much has been contributed to the fund and what the funding level is. So we do keep check on that fund level, and that's what determines what awards are.
I really hope someone will ask her, is why is the funding going down? Does it have anything to do with that the prosecutor isn't doing his job?
Granted. As far as the physical location of Drug-Free Marion County, I do not know that answer. Yeah. Well, to the...
Not paid through
I think I just reiterate Councilor Delaney's questions of, particularly this being our first early term of some freshman counselors. We need to know more about your agency, who you are, where you are, who supervises the money, where it goes, where it comes from. That's why we're getting some very basic questions tonight.
Okay, so Drug-Free Marion County is, my name is Amavi Banks. I'm the Substance Misuse Prevention Coordinator for Drug-Free Marion County or the LCC Assistant. We're located in Broadway United Methodist Church. It's 609 East 29th Street, that around downtown area or right outside of it. The MCPA coalition is consistent of persons of interest, not necessarily stakeholders, because we were told that's a term that we needed to change up.
What?
As far as the funding goes, it does fluctuate. Because of, as stated, it comes from funding from offenses, whether that be DUIs and things of that nature. Is there any other questions that I may answer?
That was quick.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you talk to us a little bit about the process of selecting these organizations to receive the funds?
Okay, so as stated, there are three different branches where working in. So most of the programs that we find is supposed to cover the law enforcement branch or the education branch or the treatment branch that we have for our agency. Our agency is more so working with programs that already exist, and then we grant out funding through that, through what we receive from City Council and or fundraisers and or grants we may receive somewhere else. Currently, I'm over a BIPOC grant, which I am over Preventure and program Too Good for Drugs and Violence. And those are programs that were implemented by Genesis Solutions and Oda Enterprises, respectively. But that means that they were already existing before us, and they would continue to exist after us. So we focus on sustainability. So when it comes to these programs that we enumerated for our budget for this year, they were already implemented before we found them. They just applied.
BIPOC grant, the Black, Indigenous, and People of Color grant.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry, can I interject? They do have an application process at the fall of every year. They are peer reviewed, they are scored, and that's how they award the grants, from what my experience has been with the program.
So we're getting I don't even know if you really gave an answer. She is giving an answer. What a clusterfuck.
Thank you for that. Because the other question I was going to ask is, what is the process, right?
That's actually what you asked.
Presenting these organizations to us, we do understand the categories. But if there's a process of applying, and then how
Michael Hart is so over it.
Notify that these funds are available that they could apply for.
And I will say that, like, from what I've heard from the person in my office that helps manage the grant, that they have been having difficulty getting, like, the law enforcement funding distributed. They haven't had enough applications. So, like, I think applications in other areas may be sparse as well.
So they're not getting enough people to take money. Huh? Why is that?
Shall I? So I'm just making sure. So the coalition, or the Marion County Prevention Alliance, actually says scores the applications of applicants, and I don't necessarily know the details of how exactly it's scored, but I'm assuming it's more so based off the ability to apply and how it can be sustained. Because without us, it should be able to continue is the biggest thing. Because the focus is more so harm reduction and prevention efforts. And any way that we can do that, we try to broaden our scope, if you will. For instance, St. Anthony's Catholic Church was focused on underserved communities in the Hispanic population, which was really something we were trying to do this year, which is branch out into a more diverse group. This is why we applied for the BIPOC grant in the first place. So when it comes to what we do, how we choose our applicants and how we market it, we market it to across all of Marion County, because I stated we are the LCC of the county itself, and we are one of the largest counties, if not the largest county in the state.
Okay.
Councilor McCormick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So don't have this information now, it sounds like, but maybe we could get a presentation.
Take your
for some
sunglasses
that
off.
are new to the
Jeez.
committee. So I'm curious about what are the stats and how are people finding about they're applying? So how many applied last year? How can we help get the word out? On the west side, we have Mounted Patrol in the K-9 unit, and I wrote that down immediately because this would be a great opportunity for them, and it would fill the vacancy that it sounds like they have a lowdown of. So as counselors, we can help get that word out, and so I think it'd be nice to get maybe a one-sheeter or a conversation offline or at another meeting to kind of go over this, how the process works, just an update or some information.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilor Baines.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I know that you get your funding from drug and alcohol-related court cases. Is that correct?
Convictions. They have to be convicted to pay the court fine. So that's basically what it is. And basically, like, if I can just read an excerpt from the guidance that the Indiana Criminal Justice Institute put out, it says basically, when offenders are convicted of an offense under Indiana Code 33-37-5-9 or Indiana Code 33-5-10, they are required to pay a fee. The drug abuse prosecution, interdiction, and correction fee ranges from $200 to $1,000, and the alcohol and countermeasures fee is $200. Now, this is from a document from that was written in 2022, so I'm not sure if those ranges changed, but that's basically the guidance that they use, those two Indiana codes that were violated.
Okay, so when we look at the fact that the funding for this program is going down, I kind of view, there's two different ways to view that. Either there's less people in Marion County that are having drug or alcohol-related issues, and therefore they're not ending up in court, which would be the good thing. Or it would be the fact that we're not prosecuting those drug or alcohol-related cases. And I'm not sure which one it is, but I do
let's
think that's
go.
something for this committee to look into.
Yes.
Let's go.
That's a question I definitely cannot answer. Of course, we have to collect the fines too. And like, I do know there are a lot of reentry programs out there. There's a lot of work going out, a lot of funding for the opioid addiction crisis. There's a lot of programs being funded by the opioid settlement. So like, there's a lot of work being done to prevent those people from going to court and to get them into treatment centers. So my hope is that that's why, but I can't speak to why.
But
Councilor Mascari.
Thank you. I just want to clarify something. Over the years on these projects, say Alliance for Life, they applied and received $17,500. In 3 years, they are not eligible. Is it every 2 or 3 years that you change out the groups that gets this money?
Yeah, I think they fund people for like 3 years, and then they tell them that they're not eligible for a while for the same program. Because as to what this gentleman spoke to, they want people to sustain their programs.
Right. In other words, others will be able to apply for this, and hopefully they'll get a chance.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Because there are a lot of organizations that provide services.
That kind of explains why. That kind of explains why people are not applying for the grants, because those people probably already got the grant at one point. That's interesting. It's kind of interesting.
The term is a 3-year plan, and then you are banned, for lack of a better word, for 3 years until you reapply.
Yeah, we discourage people from applying after being funded for a certain period of time, yes.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Councilor.
That's good and bad, really, but there's only like so many groups, or I don't know, community associations, whatever you have, that actually do something like this. Like, trying to get people involved with any of this stuff is very, very hard. And when they get X amount of money for 3 years, and then they can't do it for 3 years, according to what Bootsy is saying, and then they try and do it again. But like, I think it's good, but don't be surprised when you don't get that many applications.
Delaney.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to go back to kind of the start of the presentation. On the first slide, it says 2024 MCPA grantee. And then on the second slide, we're talking about drug-free Marion County. So I'm thinking that's the Marion County Prevention Alliance. And I was hoping that you could explain the two and how they're related. And then also, proposal number 50 says that we're approving grants totaling $250,000 from the Drug-Free Community Fund. Is that what you were talking about? The auditor is just saying there's $250,000 for this year. So if you could go back through the funding that we're actually approving, where it's coming from.
Okay, so Drug-Free Marion County administers the funding, and I believe, and of course I'm using someone else's presentation, so I'm hoping he can explain
whoever he is
about the relationship, but I believe the Marion County Prevention Alliance serves as the local coordinating council for the program. So I think they work in conjunction with each other,
but they don't
to
know.
administer the funds.
I think. I don't want to hear I think.
County does all the administration, but I think the County Prevention Alliance is comprised of various members that kind of guide our activities for preventing drug use or misuse and abuse in
what
our
is
county. Speaking to, the $250,000, yes. Before they started their application period last fall, summer to fall, we did get the number from the Marion County Auditor's Office that told us that we had about $250,000 to work with. There may be a little bit more in that fund, but that was the only fund, the amount that we could divide evenly between the four categories.
And so our vote is like moving the money from point A to point B, essentially?
Yeah, basically approving the awards that were issued through the application process.
Thank you.
Councilor.
I mean, I kind of like the oversight, but at the same time, it seems like a lot of bureaucracy. I don't know.
Nay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to thank you for presenting this, and as well as for you being in attendance and for trying to fill some gaps. I just wanted to note that I would love to meet the executive director. I know time can be difficult to manage to get downtown, but would love to meet the executive director or have a chance to chat with him prior to passing this through the full council. I'm proud of this program. I think it does great work, but I do think it'd be nice to chat with him on the program and their work prior to the funding getting passed back to them.
Councilor Graves.
For my colleagues that are new to the committee, Mr. Michelangelo has presented in the years past, so we have been briefed by him. I'm curious to know what some of my colleagues, where their questions are directed. Mr. Chair, can you?
Why are you getting defensive?
Bring this all together.
I'm not sure of your question. Councilor Graves, feel free to elaborate.
Well, I'm trying to figure out if we are curious about recipients of the awards, the award amount, or I'm trying to figure out, maybe I missed some of the.
Well, I think what I've perceived so far is just this is new to many of us, and trying to just take the covers off of it and see who it is and where the money's coming from. And sorry, I turned it off. And also, one question I do have too is I assume, or I hope there's some type of a reporting requirement so the recipients must report the progress of how they're using the money, the impact, the results, things of that sort before they can reapply. Is that a prerequisite?
I do know that there is reporting involved in that. The Marion County Drug-Free Marion County manages that part of the process. OFM Grants serves as the fiscal agent, so all we see is the claims. So it truly is a partnership. Drug-Free Marion County truly handles the management of this grant.
The grantees do fill out grantee reports of what they're doing, as well as, so we do get claim requests because we do reimbursement of the funding. And from there, we also receive a grantee report to see the work that they're doing to make sure that they're utilizing the money that they're receiving the way that they say that they are. From what I've gathered from grantees I went through for the past few months, some of them use the funding correctly and some of them don't. Some of them may not even use all of their funding and it rolls over into this upcoming year. So part of this total amount of that $250,000, a lot of the questions are around where that money's coming from. Part of that amount will increase because we have some rollover, and as a nonprofit agency, we intend to spend all the money we receive.
Because you have to.
Is there, in instances where there's concluded the money may not have been spent within the spirit of the grant, what happens then? Is it an enforcement step, or does someone get called to a meeting and explain this is how you spend it and here's how you were supposed to spend it?
We do orientation. So after this meeting here, whatever the decision is, we tell the grantees who were accepted and who weren't accepted about their funding, so that way they can start implementing their programs more effectively. And then we do an orientation this Friday about how we expect them to fill out their grantee reports, how we expect them to submit their claims, what is needed, because again, we also have to track the amount of money that's being spent and what may have you. And if we're even off by a cent, that comes back to us.
Sure. Councilor
Who's talking in the background?
Yes, just to go back to Councilor Graves' question, I think my concern is you're asking this committee to send forth a recommendation to the full council in favor of the allocation. And for me, what I'm asking is just due diligence. I'm sure these organizations are doing great work in the community, but we need to be sure. I'm sure there's a process. We just aren't aware of the process. And I think if you're going to appear in front of the committee to ask us to make a recommendation to the full council, then I think we deserve at least a full brief, a presentation about the process if we're going to allocate these funds. And I think that's where I'm really asking some questions this evening, right? So it's not a question of the organizations whether or not they're doing good work. It's just what process did we go through to get to the place where we are now?
Okay, yeah, and that's fair.
Yeah, that's how it should be. Perkins is completely right. And it really shows to you, like, Keith Graves is getting really defensive about it, which makes me want to do more investigation on him.
We've just been doing this for so many years. We usually aren't prepared to go over the process. So my apologies for that.
You know what you just said? We've done this for so many years without accountability, and now you're asking questions, and we don't know what, we're a little surprised by this.
On my part. But I will say that once the awards are issued, OFM Grants is the one that issues the MOUs to the agencies, and we, after Drug-Free Marion County reviews the claims, they come to us, we review them, and get all the documentation to support the expenses, make sure that they meet what their program said was going to do. That's part of the process, and then we reimburse those claims. So, like, there is an oversight process by OFM in addition to what Drug-Free Marion County does. The finances are always reviewed by OFM as well. And I will say that, like, when we do the MOUs, they should be on the city's website with all of our other contracts. So we can go back in the past and see who we funded in the past and see how their contracts were set up and stuff. But that doesn't speak to their past success and what they've done with previous funds, because we would need to get those reports.
We do get that information, though, what they're doing and their successes. And the main reason why I know that is because I go over them myself personally, and then Michelangelo then goes over it himself, and then we send it to our auditor.
Ms. Hall, if you could, too, please. Some of your slides did not come out on the paper copy we have.
Okay.
They got chopped off, so if you could maybe make sure, send a clean copy or another copy
Absolutely.
that we can be distributed, that'd be helpful.
Sure. Do you want it all by email? Do you just want the email copies of everything? Or do you want...
Send it to our clerk, and
Okay.
she'll handle it appropriately.
All right.
Councilor Renee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to respond to my colleague, Councilor Graves. My comment on meeting and having a chance to visit with Michelangelo was just simply to give an example. Mr. Cordy this evening, it's sometimes just nice to revisit with folks. Michelangelo does great work, and I've always enjoyed his perspective when he's appeared in front of the committee, and a lot of the great work that he does in the community. But just to hear Mr. Cordy just a few minutes ago talk about the technology and the caseload with the Civilian Police Complaint Board, that's great feedback, and so I would just love to hear from him at some point of things that the organization's doing well, and maybe things that the city can help in doing more with the organization to make an even greater impact on the community. So that was the comment, the purpose of the comment previously.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Hart.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm curious if there's a deadline or a timeline that this would have to be approved by to keep the programs going. My concern being that we've got a couple different council requests that we've postponed a few things already, and it seems like Councilor Perkins is concerned about seeing some more details on the efficacy of some of these programs. And I think we've got the request to see Director Michelangelo. So I mean, in terms of timeline, if we were to postpone this, would that affect the distributions to some of these organizations?
We only give them a calendar year to spend the funds, so January through December. So right now, like, we're already behind on presenting this to council.
Of course they are.
I believe the application process may have been delayed a bit. I'm not sure what happened and why it's so late this year, but typically we usually come to council December or January with these grants. So they have a calendar year, 12 months, to run their programs and spend the money. So, like, yeah, another month delay may hurt some of these programs.
What was the delay then? Can we be asking that?
A lot of these agencies are small and they need the reimbursements, and the only way that OFM can reimburse is if we get this approved and we can process the contracts.
Councilor Mowry, did you have your hand up at one point? All right. Councilor McCormick.
Hi. So given what Councilor Hart said and the responses with the timeline, I am willing to make a motion, and what my vote would be based on, I would want responses and the information before the full council meeting. So I'm okay to put a motion forward to send this out of committee if my colleagues would like to support that. So
Does anybody else have any questions?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to send proposal number 50 to the full council with a due pass recommendation.
Second.
It was postponed.
Yeah, you weren't there, Maury.
Council, do you want to take a roll call for that, or can we do a voice vote?
You can do a voice vote.
Yeah. For the record, again, one more time, Councilor McCrory.
So I make a motion to send proposal number 50 to the full council with a due pass recommendation.
Got a second? Any other comments? Vote, those in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same. So passes.
Okay, if I may, would you like me to ask Michelangelo to come and make a presentation to this committee about the processes?
That would be nice. Yeah, it won't be before the vote, but and it need not necessarily be the next committee meeting, but I too would have some interest in learning more about this program. This is my going on the 5th year, and I'm very unfamiliar with all of this. And I'm not blaming you. It's much our responsibility as well. We'd just like to learn more.
Dude, there's so many
If I may
programs,
just
though.
jump in here. I think I worked with Debbie a while ago on some of these. There's a contract between the city and drug-free Marion County. And then there's subcontracts or MOUs with the recipients and their reimbursement grant. This works not too much different than the arts grant, where the Arts Council gets the money. They screen people who want the money, and except this one has specific categories as to how they spend the money and how much they get. So it is like I said, it's a reimbursement. So if they aren't doing what they're supposed to, they don't get reimbursed. And so I'm assuming that and so this isn't all the money any of them get. It's not all the money drug-free Marion County gets. It's not all the money any of the recipients get. It is just supplementing whatever they are. But it is a reimbursement type, and we do have an agreement between the city and drug-free Marion County to make sure they are doing the proper oversight, and then between the drug-free Marion County and the sub-recipients.
That's correct, yes.
Jeez, she just spent the last 20 minutes trying to explain this thing, and she broke it down in 30 seconds.
And also, when I send the documents, I'll also send this little summary that explains how drug-free community funds are handled for the state. And that might help clear up some of the questions in the back of your minds about just the basic function of the funding and how it's governed by the state. And I will send the presentation, and I will send a better copy of the evaluation report as well.
Great, wonderful. Thank you, Ms. Hall. Councilor Graves.
I just wanted to say I appreciate my colleagues and their diligence in making sure that we are, overseeing all of the responsibilities that we have that come before this community, each and every community on the council. My concern was I just want to make sure that perhaps I was carrying some of my experience on this committee into that question. So I want to make sure that everybody knew that.
Even Bain knows.
So excited about the heart and the important work that they do over there at Drug-Free Marion. I've seen them out in communities. I've seen them here presenting. So I'm very familiar with the leadership over with Mr. Michelangelo. Thank you.
Well put, Councilor Graves. Thank you. Do I hear a motion to adjourn? Second? Aye. We're adjourned.
Good job, man. Good job.
Good job, man. Good job. Jeez, that was a giant clusterfuck. This is what happens with government organizations. It's just nobody knows what's going on. I don't even know who that lady was, but she broke everything down in 30 seconds that it took the other two people 20 minutes. We need more people like her. Just give me the meat and potatoes of it. Well, until next time.